Well, hello everybody. It's about 8 o'clock here in Las Vegas. I'm actually in Henderson. This is my very first attempt to actually live stream. So I'm expecting lots of hiccups tonight, but what we're going to try to do is, or what I'm going to try to do is go through the entire process from setting up the gear, which you see sitting on the table behind me here, all the way through capturing some images and processing the images tonight. So that's what we're going to attempt to do. I'm going to minimize this screen here so I can see what's going on, and we are going to start by I'm going to show you my setup in the backyard where we're going to be setting up anyway. And so there is the backyard by the swimming pool here. That's what we're going to do, is we're going to set up here. And like I said, this is my very first attempt at streaming, so I expect hiccups. Please bear with me here. There is a chat if you want to chat. I will be able to talk while I'm out at the camera or out in the yard setting up, but I won't be able to see the chat, so just bear with me. I'll try to get to the chat whenever I come back in the house. And that's pretty much it. If we're going to go ahead and get started here. Like I said, I'm going to start out. I'm going to move the tripod out first, and then the mount, which is a Celestron CGX, and then I've got my batteries here. The telescope and the camera and the filters and everything are already actually built, so it's just a matter of once I get everything out there, get everything mounted, get it balanced real quick, and then we'll start doing the first thing, which is going to be polar alignment. So I'll show you how I go about doing the polar alignment. So let's go outside first. So I'm going to switch to the outdoor camera here. I'm giving the camera a little bit of a nudge because this outdoor camera goes to sleep if I don't do anything for a certain period of time. Yeah, I'm taking the tripod out now. All right. So this is my usual area where I set up. So I am roughly facing north here. We'll do some final tweaking once we get the mount on. If the camera is not properly positioned, I will make some adjustments when I go in to pick up the mount. Actually, there's a couple of other components I've got to get on first before I do the mount, but I shall be back. All right, so, okay, Titan, use my Astro Dog. So if you hear heavy breathing in the background, it's not me, it's coming from him. We just got back from the park and it's 100 degrees outside, so it was pretty toasty out there. He got some running in. All right, I can see right now I'm gonna have to move my little camera here and get it in a better position. Let me go back to the outside shot here. Yeah, I'm going to reposition it because I want you guys to be able to see the entire setup, including the batteries that I placed down at the foot of it. So I'm going to go outside, place the batteries, and then reposition the camera here. It's going to get a little shaky. I apologize for that. All right. So I use a Goal Zero Yeti 400, and then the Yeti 400 has a 35 amp hour battery in it, and this is an additional 35 amp hours. I just plug them in so that they drain equally, as well as I always keep them both plugged in so that they charge equally as well. I've heard that's good practice with these batteries. So I'm going to reposition the camera now. Hopefully it's not too jarring and too crazy for you guys. move it back a few feet here. And since I'm outside, I can't really see what the camera sees, so I'll have to reposition it once I get back in the house here. But this should be far enough away for you guys to be able to see the entire setup now. All right, squeaky door there right now. Let's see, let me reposition that camera angle just a little bit. Tilted up a tad, just a little too much. All right, so that should show everything right there. And I'm gonna continue on with the build process here. Well, I've got my spreader plate here and my two counterweights. The spreader's not really 100% necessary, but it does help with a little bit of stability here. We'll get this in here. I do apologize if the camera shuts off or if you can't hear me too well, but like I said, this is all new for me. All right, so we're ready to put the mount on now. All right, once again, I'm going to give the camera a nudge here. That's what kind of resets its clock and keeps it awake. If I don't do anything with that baby cam, it goes to sleep after about 2 minutes, I think. All right, we're ready for the mount. All right. So as I was saying, this is the Celestron CGX mount. This is an old, I used to have a Meade LX200 12-inch Schmidt Cassegrain. And this was the tripod that 12-inch Schmidt Cassegrain was on. I had a friend of mine, Mike, do a little special plate to modify the top of this tripod to receive my Celestron CGX mount. 3 screws going in here, and then I'll tighten them down. All right. Good and tight. So, all right. So we've got the three bolts that attach the mount to the tripod in place. And got my counterweight bar that you probably heard hitting the ground as I walk through the door. And I can actually see the infrared lights on the camera, so I guess I'll know if and when it goes to sleep. If it goes to sleep, just bear with me. As soon as I get back in the house, I'll reset it. Counterweights on the bar here. Oh. This is a, I'm going to say 17 pounds. 17 pounds for the first one. And this other counterweight is 11 pounds. If you're building an equatorial mount like this, once you get the mount on the tripod, you want to put the counterweights on first.
uh, because if you wait and we put the telescope on first, then the entire system is very, very top heavy. You can have an accident if this right ascension axis unlocks. It can come slamming down and completely destroy your system. Don't ask me how I know. Just take my word for it. So everything is locked. Get this open. Time for me to grab the telescope now.
All right, so we're back inside here. So I did not use my vibration pads because I'm not going to be out in the backyard while we're imaging. So, quick tour of the telescope itself. It's a Explore Scientific ED-127. It's a 952 millimeter focal length refractor. It has a 0.7 reducer on it though, which brings it down to 671 millimeter focal length at about 5.6, I believe. Not sure about that. I've got a little 200 millimeter focal length guide scope on the with a Starshoot auto guider. In the back, I've got a Moonlight 8-position filter wheel and a ZWO 1600 mm. This is the original 1600 version 1 of this camera. It's the old version that has it has the ST4 port on it instead of the USB port, which was the second version. And then the newest version, version 3, the Pro version, just has the bigger buffer and also the USB port on the back. Setting on top here, I've got a Pegasus Astro. The Pegasus Astro controls everything. On top of the Pegasus Astro is a little mini computer, which actually the mini computer controls everything. I'm going to just double check our feed here and make sure we're doing okay. Make sure we're still live. Let's see. If there's anybody tuning in out there live, then now would be the time to comment while I'm taking a quick break here in the house. Yeah, we're 12.5 minutes into the stream. That's good. That's good. So, looking back out at the outdoor camera here, I have got the Goal Zero battery and the auxiliary battery. So this gives me 70 amp hours. With this system running and this little lightweight computer, I can get about 2.5 or 3 full nights out of imaging with this system here. As I'll recap again, this is a Meade giant field tripod that came with a 12-inch Schmidt Cassegrain camera. I had a friend that modified the mounting plate to accept the Celestron CGX mount. And we've got the mount on with about 33 pounds of counterweights right now, which is going to be more than enough to handle the weight of this rig once it gets on. All right, so we'll switch over now to the outdoor camera and we'll go back out there. Let me tilt the camera up just a touch because you don't need to see the ground any longer, and this way you won't be missing any of the top of the telescope. That should be good there. All right, I'm going to go ahead and take my caps off now and leave them inside. And I'll try to talk you through this whole process.
Alright, so you can see I am not a strong person at all, but I can handle this load here. It probably weighs about between 30 and 35 pounds fully loaded here. Pretty easy for me to handle by myself. Get it in the groove here. Always extremely careful about checking to make sure that it's actually in the groove on the plate here before I release my hands from it. We don't want to have an expensive accident there. So the really nice thing about the system that I've got set up now is that this one power cord coming off of the mount is my only cable. So we'll plug that into the cigarette lighter adapter there. Let's see. We have a couple of cables that we have to attach here from the telescope rig. I've got a power for the mount, which is being output from the Pegasus Astro Ultimate Power Box 2, and then the USB cable that actually controls the mount. And we've got a little clip here on the side that kind of keeps everything nice and tidy. Make sure we don't have any other loose cables anywhere. Everything else is hooked up. I don't even use a headlamp out here. I've got so much light from the plants in the yard here that I don't really need any additional light. Of course, I say that, but one thing I forgot to do was make sure that my mount was level, and I do need a light for that, so stand by.
All right, back inside here, let me bump the mount just a little bit, and that will reset the clock on the timeout feature. And grab my headlamp so I can check to make sure the mount is level.
So this will probably be the only time I actually need a headlamp. Oh wow, that is right doggone center. How can I get so lucky that the level is that perfect? All right, so tripod mount is level, which is great. And now I'm going to do a quick balance of the scope. So the first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that the scope front to back here is balanced on the declination axis. And that looks great right there. I will tell you my cheat is my rig doesn't change, so I had it set up to little marks on the mount that help me to do the balancing. So as you can see now, when I let go of it, it's very weight heavy. I did that on purpose when I first put the weights on. So what I'm going to do now is loosen the weights and slide them all the way up top. And when I slide them all the way up top, now the telescope is scope heavy. So what I need to do is just very slowly inch the weights down until we get a good balance here. And that looks pretty close right there. So I'm going to lock down the weights, make sure it's still good. Yep. Reset everything back to the beginning here. Now I'm going to turn the power onto the battery here. So by turning the power onto the battery here, what I just did was provided the main power to the Pegasus Astro Ultimate Power Box. So what it's doing is it has one 5-volt output that is a continuous output. And I have my mini computer that's mounted on top of the Pegasus Astro plugged in to that output. So the mini computer is firing up now. As soon as it fires up, what we will do is we will remote into that. And I just realized I've got one major issue here. I was supposed to switch over my computer inside to a hardwired line to the internet so that I could Wi-Fi into the hotspot that the telescope is producing. So I am going to have to pause this live stream. Actually, I'm going to have to stop it. So what we'll do is we'll just make it into a 2-segment live segment tonight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause it. I'm going to plug my router directly into my desktop computer, and that way I can use the Wi-Fi on my desktop computer to hotspot into the computer here. So that'll take a few minutes. Let me go inside and get that taken care of.
All right, headlamp is no longer needed. Okay, so as I was just mentioning, the one thing major thing that I forgot to do during this setup was, in order for me to be able to remote into the computer that's mounted on the telescope out there, I have to Wi-Fi into the little router hotspot that's out there. And in order for me to do that, I've got to get off of my Wi-Fi here. Well, if I do that, then obviously my live stream is going to end. So rather than just abruptly cut everything out here, I'm going to say goodbye for a moment. I'm going to stop the live stream, and I'm going to rehook up my configuration here where I'm hardwired, and give me 10 minutes and we'll be back live. All right, so that's it for now.